And I'll start off by this called man versus Helicobacter, and I just show you that because that is the name of the bacteria that we discovered that causes ulcers, and so probably nobody in this room has got a problem with ulcers. This is a bacteria, Helicobacter pylori. Helico means corkscrew, curvy bacteria. Pylorus is the valve at the bottom of the stomach, and that's where we first found it. It erodes into a blood vessel, then you start bleeding. You have to have a blood transfusion. You can't go on holidays. You might get HIV or hepatitis or something from having a blood transfusion in some godforsaken country where you happen to be working. So you can imagine how ulcers could affect your life. Here's the cost of it. In America, 1 million hospitalisations, 6,000 deaths, a cost of $6 billion. And they said this is hospitalisation, physician visits, decreased productivity and days lost. What we did, we studied 100 patients coming with indigestion. This is a bit of our study. This is the total, 100. In those days, we always used to have 100 people in our research project. And that was very important in the 80s because we didn't have computers. And we could say, oh yeah, 34% had esophagus abnormal, 21% had this, 12% had bile in the stomach. We didn't need a computer to do the statistics. Nowadays, you have thousands of people in your research. It's very easy. But we found that 13 people with a duodenal ulcer, 100% of them had the bacteria, highly significant. It's like getting red on the roulette wheel 13 times in a row. That's the p-value, less than 1 in 10,000. But would the world accept the new cause for ulcers on the basis of data from only 13 patients? The answer is no way. And so that, they'd never heard of Western Australia, let alone Dr. Marshall and Dr. Warren. So we had a 15-year battle then to get the word out, and finally it was accepted in 1995.
I'm going to read a small fragment here, and let's see how it goes then. A central discussion in Western jurisprudence is whether a law, in order to be recognized as such, must conform to some permanent or higher standards of justice and morality. Some legal theories have answered this in the affirmative, arguing for the existence of unwritten principles of law that are in some sense superior to the positive law of the state. These unwritten precepts, these jurists have called a higher or natural law, thus propounding the idea that a natural or divine reason to which all those positive laws ought to conform. The acceptance of a higher or natural law raises questions that have been the source of much debate. If there are laws superior to positive law, where do they originate and how they are determined? Numerous competing theories have been advanced in attempt to answer these questions. Some have suggested that the superior law is based upon objective ethical principles, which are accessible to all humans by virtue of their rational capacities. However, others have attributed it to God, in particular, a Christian incarnation of God.
I think I can sum it up. It is how the English Copyright Act of 1709 conquered the world. I think that will be our theme. Intellectual property law is a creation of Western jurisprudence. Intellectual property-based products are an important and by value growing component in trade and commerce, domestic and international. Now, this idea of recognising and creating intellectual property rights, and we're talking, of course, of copyright, trademarks, patents, plant breeders' rights and industrial designs. It's been very much the creation of Western jurisprudence, but particularly the law of England, to recognise these concepts, these monopolies, and to enforce them. In comparison, other civilisations have not seen the need.